Hey everyone, welcome back. When you're studying for the boards and you're doing anemia questions, you're going to keep seeing autoimmune hemolytic anemia or AIHA, and most students struggle with this because it's a little complicated. So in this video, I'm going to break it down, and by the end, you're going to have a very clear understanding of AIHA. So let's get right to it. All right, so let's start by breaking down the name. So in AIHA, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, the hemolytic anemia tells us that the problem is that we have anemia due to excessive breakdown of the red blood cells or hemolysis. And then autoimmune tells us that the cause of this red blood cell hemolysis is attacked by our own immune system. And then to take it one step further, an even more precise definition is that our own antibodies are specifically attacking the red blood cells causing lysis. So the problem in autoimmune hemolytic anemia or AIHA is that you have autoantibodies forming against red blood cells causing hemolysis. And so to make this diagnosis, we need two clues. We need to show that we have hemolytic anemia, and we need to show that we have autoantibodies against the red blood cells. So this is what you're going to look for in a vignette. Signs of hemolytic anemia are a low hemoglobin hematocrit, high reticulocytes, because more of them are being released into blood as a compensation for the hemolysis, and then high LDH and indirect bilirubin, because those red blood cells are lysing, their internal content is getting broken down and released into blood. So this just tells us that you have a hemolytic anemia. This is going to be present in all the causes of hemolytic anemia. So the way that we know our hemolytic anemia is caused by autoantibodies or AIHA is this test right here, which is a positive direct antiglobulin or direct Coombs test. On the next slide, I'll briefly explain what that is. All right, so let's talk about this test. It's called the Direct Antiglobulin Test, more commonly Direct Coombs test, named after one of the scientists who developed it. I know it looks a little complicated, but I'm going to break it down. So the first thing is that this test answers one question, which is that are the red blood cells in our patient coated with antibodies on their surface, as shown here? If the answer is yes, that means we have autoantibodies against red blood cells, so that would be a positive direct Coombs test, indicating we do have AIHA. If the answer is no, that would be a negative direct Coombs test. That means those red blood cells don't have autoantibodies, therefore we don't have AIHA. And so here's how the test is going to work. So in step one right here, what we're taking from the patient is their red blood cells. And in this case, you can see that these red blood cells are coated with antibodies on their surface. So this is a patient that actually does have AIHA. What we're going to do is in step two, we're going to mix these red blood cells of the patient with what's called the Coombs reagent. That's what's in this dropper right here being added to the test tube of the patient's blood. What's inside the Coombs reagent, this purple, is what's known as anti-human globulin, which is basically just antibodies that are going to bind the patient's antibodies if they're present. So these are basically antibody antibodies. And so if we have a positive test like it's shown right here, what's going to happen is that these blue anti-human globulins are going to bind these antibodies that are present and coating the patient's red blood cells. And you can see that now by doing that, they're linking up these red blood cells to each other. So they're going to cause the red blood cells to clump. And this is known as red blood cell agglutination. And this indicates a positive test for AIHA because this tells us that these red blood cells had antibodies on their surface, coating them, that are now being linked up to each other by the addition of our Coombs reagent. Now, if this patient did not have AIHA, then their red blood cells would not have had these antibodies coating them, so the addition of these Coombs reagent would not have caused any clumping, and therefore this would have been a negative test indicating no AIHA. So the key takeaway here is a positive direct Coombs test means antibodies binding to the red blood cells, and if you're evaluating for AIHA, that's going to be your confirmatory test. And then finally, just so you don't get it confused, there's a different version of the antiglobulin or Coombs test called the indirect Coombs test or indirect antiglobulin test, and that tests the patient's serum for something different, and I'll cover that in more detail in a separate video about the Coombs test, but I don't want you to get that confused here. So the punchline is that to make the diagnosis of AIHA in a patient, the correct test is the direct Coombs test or the direct antiglobulin test, which will be positive, indicating their red blood cells are coated with autoantibodies. All right, so now coming back to our overview of AIHA, we talked about the cause being autoantibodies against red blood cells causing hemolysis. We explained the labs of hemolytic anemia, and that to make the diagnosis of autoantibodies against the red blood cells, we need a positive direct Coombs test. The next thing to know is that there are two types of AIHA. We have a warm AIHA, which means that these autoantibodies are binding to the red blood cells at core body temperature, and the antibody class involved here is IgG. And then we have cold AIHA. That means that the antibodies that are binding the red blood cells occur at colder temperatures, so below core body temperature, and the antibody class that does this is IgM. So in the rest of this video, we're going to break down the difference between warm and cold AIHA. Okay, so let's start with warm AIHA. So here, the autoantibody class that binds the red blood cells is IgG. And the reason that it's called warm is because this binding of these antibodies to the antigens on the red blood cells occurs at core body temperature, which is considered warm. So the way that hemolysis occurs here in warm AIHA is that the red blood cells that are bound by IgG are basically tagged as being quote unquote bad cells. And so when they circulate through the spleen, the macrophages in the spleen are like, hey, these red blood cells have IgG on them. There must be something wrong with them. They're not normal. We must phagocytose them. And so what we're going to get is hemolysis in the spleen, which is known as extravascular hemolysis. And the way that it goes down is that these macrophages can't engulf the red blood cells whole all in one bite. So they're going to start chewing away at them. And when these red blood cells are getting partially phagocytosed, they're going to rearrange their membrane and turn into smaller spherical shaped red blood cells, which are known as spherocytes. And then they're going to end up going back into the circulation. And so the peripheral blood smear here is going to show the presence of lots of spherocytes. Now, as these spherocytes recirculate back through the spleen, they're going to get partially phagocytosed again by the macrophages, so they're going to turn into smaller spherocytes, and eventually, as this happens over and over again, this is going to lead to complete hemolysis and destruction of the red blood cells. Now, finally, the Coombs test here is going to be positive against IgG because that's the antibody that's binding the surface of the red blood cells. And then finally, let's talk about the causes of hemolysis. It can be primary or idiopathic, but as far as secondary causes, the most high yield are autoimmune diseases like lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, lymphomas and leukemias, and then medications, especially beta-lactam antibiotics and alpha-methyl-dopa, which is an old school blood pressure drug that isn't often used anymore, except at USMLE hospital. So you have to know this as a cause of warm AIHA. So these are the most common causes of warm AIHA. All right, so now let's talk about cold AIHA. And so the key here is going to be how is this going to be different than warm AIHA. So the first thing is that here are the autoantibodies that are going to bind the red blood cells is IgM. And the reason that this is called cold is because this binding between IgM and the red blood cells occurs in colder temperature, so below body temperature. And what happens is that IgM is going to bind red blood cells in the colder parts of the body that are further away from the core, so classically in the fingers and in the toes. And because IgM is a pentamer, that means that it has 5 binding sites as opposed to IgG that only had 1. What's going to happen is that when it binds to the red blood cells in the fingers and in the toes, it's going to bind to a bunch of different red blood cells at the same time, and it's going to bring them closer together and link them up to each other and cause a clumping or agglutination of the red blood cells. This was not something that we saw in warm AIHA. And when all those red blood cells clump to each other, they're going to decrease blood flow going to the fingers and the toes. So the classic symptoms here are going to be hemolysis episodes with cold exposure associated with painful cyanosis or bluish discoloration of the fingers and the toes, which is known as acrocyanosis. So this is a key feature caused by the red blood cell agglutination that happens in the toes and fingers in patients with cold AIHA. Now, the other consequence of the fact that IgM is a pentamer is that unlike IgG, IgM is actually really great at recruiting complement proteins, and so the complement system has a major role here. So what happens is that when IgM binds the red blood cells in the fingers and the toes, it's going to also cause complement proteins to stick to the red blood cells as well. So as those red blood cells are leaving the fingers and the toes, they have IgM and complement coated on their surface. Now what happens is that as that blood and those red blood cells return from the cold extremities to the warm core body circulation, the IgM is going to fall off, because remember the binding of IgM only occurs in the colder temperatures, so the IgM is going to fall off, but the problem is that those complement proteins are going to remain attached to the red blood cells. And so the way that hemolysis happens here is that when the red blood cells here circulate through the spleen, since they're tagged by complement, the macrophages in the spleen say, hey, these red blood cells have complement on them. That means that they're not normal, and so we have to phagocytose them. So once again, we're going to get hemolysis in the spleen, which is extravascular hemolysis. But in this case, the cause of the extravascular hemolysis is that the red blood cells are bound up by complement. Now, we're also going to get a little bit of intravascular hemolysis because complement binding to the red blood cells is going to activate the MAC complex, which can cause them to lyse in the vessels. So when you're studying, you might see that in cold AIHA, there's a little bit of intravascular hemolysis as well. But the main type of hemolysis for both warm and cold AIHA is extravascular hemolysis happening by the macrophages in the spleen. The Coombs test here is going to be positive against complement. Now, you may expect it to have been positive against IgM, just like warm AIHA was positive against IgG, but remember the difference is that the IgM antibodies fall off when the blood is returning to the core circulation. So when we take a sample of that blood, the IgM has already fallen off, but what is still tagged on those red blood cells is a lot of complement proteins. So direct antiglobulin test here in cold AIHA is going to be positive against complement bound to red blood cells. And then finally, let's talk about the causes. So cold AIHA, just like warm AIHA, can be caused by primary or idiopathic causes. But as far as the secondary causes, the most high yield are mycoplasma pneumonia and mononucleosis. Both of them start with the letter M, as in IgM. So that's a good way to remember that. And then finally, just like we saw with warm AIHA, CLL can also be a cause of cold AIHA. Okay, so let's do a quick summary of everything we just learned. In warm AIHA, the antibody class is IgG that binds the red blood cells. The temperature where this is binding is at core body temperature, which is warm. There's only a little bit of complement activation. The main cause of hemolysis is splenic macrophages phagocytosing those IgG tagged red blood cells. So the hemolysis location is extravascular, mainly happening in the spleen. The main blood smear finding here is going to be spherocytes, because remember that as part of this phagocytosis, initially small pieces of the red blood cells are bitten off, and so the membrane is rearranging, causing spherocytes. And as this continues, then this is going to lead to complete hemolysis. The direct Coombs test here is going to be positive against IgG, and the main secondary causes of warm AIHA are lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, medications like beta-lactams and alpha-methyldopa, and CLL. In cold AIHA, the antibody class is IgM. It's called cold because the binding of IgM to the red blood cells is happening below core body temperature, so in the fingers and the toes. There's a lot of complement activation here because IgM is a pentamer, so it recruits lots of complement proteins. The IgM is going to fall off when the blood returns to core temperatures. However, the complement is going to remain on the red blood cells, and so phagocytosis happens in the spleen because the macrophages recognize complement bound to the red blood cells. So the main site of hemolysis here is going to be extravascular in the spleen, but there's also a little bit of intravascular hemolysis here due to activation of the MAC complex. The main blood smear finding here is agglutinated red blood cells. That means the red blood cells are clumped to each other, and that's because IgM is a pentamer, so when it bound those red blood cells, it caused them to clump up with each other. So this is going to be the main blood smear findings, less likely to see spherocytes here. The direct Coombs test here is positive against complement, because remember the IgM fell off, but complement stays on. And then the main secondary causes for IgM, remember the letter M, so mycoplasma pneumonia and mononucleosis, in addition to CLL. Okay, so before we end, I want to talk about two things that can be potential points of confusion. First, let's recap what the direct Coombs test is going to look like in warm versus cold AIHA. So warm AIHA is going to be very straightforward. We have the patient's red blood cells. They're coated with this yellow autoantibodies, which are IgG on their surface. So the Coombs reagent here that we're going to add is anti-IgG antibodies. This is going to bind up those IgGs on the surface of those red blood cells, and it's going to cause clumping of them or agglutination. And so we have a positive direct Coombs test. So this one's straightforward. Cold AIHA, though, can be a little tricky because remember that the IgM has fallen off. So the red blood cells here are coated with complement proteins on their surface, which is this little green guys. And so the Coombs reagent that we're going to add here are antibodies against complement protein, specifically C3. And the confusing thing here might be that typically when we think of the direct Coombs test, we think of adding antibodies that are against other antibodies like we saw up here. But in this case, the antibodies we're adding to test for cold AIHA are anti-complement C3. And so they're going to bind the complement on the surface of these red blood cells, and they're going to cause clumping and agglutination. And so we have a positive direct Coombs test here. So the punchline is that the Coombs reagent in cold AIHA is anti-complement protein antibodies. Second and final thing I want to talk about are spherocytes. So spherocytes are red blood cells that are round instead of biconcave, and they do not have the pale zone in their center, as you can see right here. So they're basically just small, round, pink cells in contrast to the normal red blood cells that are shown here. And these are really common in warm AIHA, but they're rare in cold AIHA. And the reason is because in warm AIHA, there's partial phagocytosis of the red blood cells in the spleen. So the membrane of the red blood cells is going to rearrange and it's going to return to the circulation, reshaped as these spherical cells, whereas in cold AIHA, the red blood cells are often engulfed whole, and therefore it doesn't lead to the formation of the spherocytes, and this is why spherocytes are less common in cold AIHA. And then finally, there's another condition that causes hemolytic anemia called hereditary spherocytosis. This is an inherited mutation in the red blood cell membrane anchoring proteins, so this is not an autoimmune problem. Therefore, the key tip-off is that the direct Coombs test in hereditary spherocytosis will be negative, and that's how you can tell this apart from spherocytes that are caused by AIHA. Okay, that's it and that's all. I've linked the hereditary spherocytosis video here so you can check it out. And if this video helped you, please give it a like, drop a comment, and share it with others. And if you haven't already done it, please subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date on my videos and quiz posts. But for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.